I'd been out with a few friends from the hostel, just a couple of beers at a rooftop bar, but the energy of the city had worn me down. Now it was late, maybe 1 a.m., and the streets were emptying out, leaving behind wet patches on the pavement that reflected the neon signs in blurry streaks. I waved down a taxi, a pink and white one. It pulled over with a little squeal of the brakes. The driver looked old enough, maybe in his 50s, with a kind of tired face. I got in the back. The seat was that sticky vinyl kind. I gave him the name of my hotel near Sukhumvit. He nodded, didn't say anything, just pulled back into the sparse traffic. For the first few minutes, it was fine. Normal. The radio was playing some Thai pop song, low and tinny. I was just staring out the window, watching the city slide by. Then the smell hit me. It wasn't just the cheap pine tree air freshener hanging from the rearview mirror. It was something else underneath it. Something sour and a little bit like old meat. I tried to ignore it, telling myself it was just a dirty cab in a big city. He glanced at me in the rearview mirror. "You tourist?" he asked. His English was okay, a bit broken. "Yeah," I said, trying to sound friendly, but not too friendly. "You learn that as a girl traveling alone. Bangkok beautiful, yes?" "Very beautiful," I agreed, giving a small, tight smile to my reflection in the window. He kept looking at me in the mirror. His eyes lingered a bit too long. It wasn't a creepy leer, not exactly. It was more like he was studying me, like he was trying to figure something out. It made my skin prickle. "You from?" he asked. "America," I said. I usually say Canada. It sounds less, I don't know, less of a target sometimes. I don't know why I said America. I was tired. "Ah, America, far away." He nodded to himself. "You alone?" And there it was, the question. I felt a familiar little knot tighten in my stomach. "My friends are at the hotel," I lied. It was an automatic lie, one I'd told a dozen times. He was quiet for a moment. The pop song on the radio ended and was replaced by a man talking fast in Thai. The driver reached over and turned it off. The sudden silence was heavy. All I could hear was the hum of the engine and the soft hiss of the tires on the wet road. "Hotel far," he said, his eyes on me in the mirror again. "We take shortcut." I glanced out the window. The streets were familiar. We were on the right path. "Oh, that's okay," I said quickly. "The normal way is fine. I'm not in a hurry." He didn't answer. He just took the next right turn onto a darker, narrower street. My heart started to beat a little faster. "Okay," I told myself, "don't panic. He's a taxi driver. He knows the city. This is probably a real shortcut." But the knot in my stomach was pulling tighter. The buildings on this street were closer together, older, fewer lights. I watched the little blue dot of my location on my phone. We were going parallel to the main road, but moving deeper into a network of small alleys and soy. "I think you missed the turn for my hotel," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. No. Shortcut," he repeated. His voice was flat. All the fake friendliness was gone. Then I heard it. A soft click. I reached for the door handle. It didn't move. I tried again, pulling harder. Nothing. I tried the other door. Same thing. "The doors are locked," I said, and my voice trembled a little. He looked at me in the mirror. His face was blank. "Yes," he said. "This is it. This is really happening." My mind started racing. My phone was in my hand. I could call someone. Who? The police? What would I say? I don't even know what street I'm on. I could text my friends, "Help, taxi driver locked me in." It sounded so dramatic. Would they even see it in time? The car slowed down, crawling through a dark alley. There was no one around, just stray cats and overflowing garbage bins. The sour smell in the cab seemed to get stronger. I felt like I was going to throw up. "What do you want?" I asked, my voice barely a whisper. He didn't answer right away. He just kept driving, slowly. He seemed calm. That was the scariest part. He wasn't angry or yelling. He was just doing this, like it was a normal thing. Then he spoke, without looking at me. His voice was low and even. "You have nice phone." I looked down at my phone. "An iPhone." "What?" "Nice phone," he said again. "You take picture, for me." I didn't understand. "A picture of what?" He stopped the car in the middle of the alley. He turned off the engine. The silence was absolute. He turned around in his seat to face me. His eyes were dark, and for the first time I saw something in them. A cold, empty flatness. It was like looking at a shark. "You." "Picture of you," he said. He made a gesture with his hand like he was taking off a shirt. "No clothes." The blood drained from my face. I couldn't breathe. I just stared at him, my mind completely blank with shock. This wasn't happening. This was a nightmare. No, I whispered. He smiled. It was the most terrifying smile I'd ever seen. It didn't reach his eyes. Yes, he said. You take picture. Nice pictures. You send to my phone. Then I take you to hotel. My brain started to work again, slowly, sluggishly. No. Let me out of the car. You take picture, he repeated, his voice still calm, still flat, or I take you somewhere else. Somewhere. No one find you. Maybe find you in river. 1 week. 2 weeks. He said it so matter-of-factly, like he was talking about the weather. I started to cry, silent tears rolling down my face. I was shaking so hard the phone was vibrating in my hand. Please, I begged. Please just let me go. You can have my money. My phone. Just take it. I pushed my purse towards him. He didn't even look at it. He just shook his head slowly. No money. I want picture. From you. From the pretty American girl. He leaned a little closer. I could smell his breath. It was stale, like old coffee. You think you come here, you walk around, you are safe, you are not safe, you are meat. The word hung in the air. Meat. My mind reeled. I looked out the window into the darkness. No one. Not a single person. He could do anything to me right here. My mind flashed with horrible images. I thought about my mom. I thought about how stupid I was to get in this cab. Okay, I choked out, the word tasting like poison in my mouth. Okay. His smile widened. Good girl. Now, take off your shirt. Not I want to see. Take a picture. A good one. I fumbled with my phone, my fingers clumsy and numb. I unlocked it. My hands were shaking too much to hold it steady. What was I supposed to do? Should I actually do it? If I do it, will he let me go? Or is this just the beginning? My mind was screaming. Fight. Do something. Scream. Break the window. But I was frozen, paralyzed by a fear so total and complete it was like being encased in ice. He started the car again. We drive, he said. You get ready. We find another quiet place. He pulled out of the alley and back onto a slightly bigger street. There were a few motorbikes now, a 7-Eleven glowing in the distance, a tiny pathetic spark of hope lit up in my chest. People. There are people here. Do it now, he said, his voice sharp. Take the picture now. I was still crying, my whole body trembling. I couldn't think. I couldn't move. I just sat there clutching my phone. We came up to a red light. The car slowed to a stop. I was staring out the window, my vision blurry with tears, when a pair of headlights pulled up right beside us. I didn't even register it at first. Then I saw the markings on the side of the car. The green and white pattern. The emblem on the door. It was a police car. I swear my heart stopped. For a whole second, it just stopped beating. The police car was right there, not 10 feet away. The officer in the passenger seat was looking forward, sipping from a can of something. My eyes shot to the rearview mirror. I saw the driver's face. The change was instant. The cold, flat expression was gone. His eyes were wide. Fear. I saw fear in his eyes. He wasn't looking at me anymore. He was staring straight ahead, his hands gripping the steering wheel so tight it looked like a trapped animal. I opened my mouth to scream, to bang on the window, but nothing came out. My throat was closed up tight. I was still frozen. The light turned green. The police car didn't move right away. For a second, a horrible, agonizing second, I thought it was just going to sit there. But then it pulled forward, slowly, and continued on its way. The driver didn't move. He just sat there, breathing hard. I could see his chest rising and falling. The car behind us honked. He seemed to snap out of it. He glanced in the rearview mirror, a quick, panicked look at me. Then he looked at the lock on his door. He reached down and fumbled with a button on the driver's side panel. The sound was the loudest thing I'd ever heard. Get out, he hissed. His voice was different now. It was shaky, desperate. Get out now! I didn't need to be told twice. I threw the door open and scrambled out of the car, stumbling onto the pavement. I didn't even close the door. I just started running. I ran without looking back. I ran towards the lights of the main road, my sandals slapping against the wet ground. I could hear him yelling something behind me, then the sound of his tires screeching as he sped away. I didn't stop running until I was back on the main Sukhumvit road, surrounded by the noise and the lights and the few remaining people stumbling out of bars. I leaned against a wall, gasping for air, my whole body shaking uncontrollably. I looked down at my phone, still clutched in my hand. My reflection stared back at me from the black screen, a pale, terrified stranger. I never told anyone. Not my friends at the hostel, not my parents back home. How could I? What would I even say? It felt too big, too ugly to put into words. It felt like something that had burrowed inside me, a little piece of that cold, dark alley that I would have to carry around forever. It was raining hard in Iligan, the kind of rain that makes the roads look like mirrors and turns the canals into rivers. I was standing outside Gaisano, under that small roof near the entrance, just waiting for a ride. It was late, maybe around 10:30 p.m. My phone was dead, so I couldn't call and grab or check the time exactly. I just wanted to get back to my place in Suarez. A white taxi pulled up. It looked old. The paint was chipping on the hood, and the taxi sign on top was flickering. I didn't care. I was soaked from the waist down because the wind was blowing the rain under the roof. I opened the door and slid into the back seat. The smell hit me first. It wasn't just air freshener. It was that stale smell of cheap cigarettes, old sweat, and something sweet like rotting fruit. Suarez Cuya, near the old court, I said. The driver didn't say anything. He just nodded. He looked small in his seat, hunched over the steering wheel. He was wearing a faded blue shirt that looked 2 sizes too big for him. He started driving. We went down Quezon Avenue. Usually the drivers take the shortcut, but he went slow, real slow, like he was looking for something on the sidewalk. I looked at the back of his head. He had thin hair, mostly gray, and his neck was skinny. Bad night for driving, huh? I said, trying to be nice. He didn't answer for a long time. Then he cleared his throat. It sounded like he had sand in his lungs. The rain doesn't matter when you have nothing to go home to, he said. His voice was flat, no emotion at all. I just nodded, even though he couldn't see me well in the rearview mirror. I figured he was just having a bad shift. Most of these guys work 24 hours straight. I leaned my head against the window, watching the lights of the closed shops go by. We passed the bridge near the port. The water below was black and moving fast. You have a family, sir? He asked. Yeah. Back in the province, I said. That's good, he muttered. Family is everything, until they're gone, or until you can't feed them anymore. He started gripping the steering wheel tighter. I could see his knuckles turning white. We were heading towards the diversion road now. It's darker there, fewer streetlights. The rain was getting even heavier, hitting the roof of the car like stones. I had 3 kids, he said suddenly. He wasn't looking at the road anymore. He was looking at the dashboard. The youngest, she needed medicine last week. I didn't have the money. The pharmacy, they don't care about pay you tomorrow. They want the cash. I told them I'd work all night. I did, but it wasn't enough. I felt a bit uncomfortable. I don't like it when people get too personal in taxis. It makes me feel like I owe them something more than the fare. I'm sorry to hear that, Kuya, I said. Don't be sorry, he snapped. The car swerved a little to the left. He corrected it quickly. Being sorry is easy. Living is the hard part. Did you know the bank took my house yesterday? My wife left. She took the other 2 to her mother's in Misamis. I'm living in this car now, this piece of junk. He slapped the dashboard. The plastic cracked. We were on the long stretch of the diversion road now. There were no other cars, just us and the dark trees on the side of the road. He started picking up speed. The speedometer went from 40 to 60, then 80. In this rain, that's dangerous. Kuya, maybe slow down a bit. The road is slippery, I said, trying to keep my voice calm. He didn't slow down. He actually pushed the gas harder. The engine was screaming. I've been thinking all day, he said. He started laughing, but it wasn't a happy sound. It was like a cough. I've been driving in circles. I pick people up, I drop them off. They go to their nice houses, they eat dinner, and I just sit here. I have 40 pesos in my pocket. 40 pesos, that's not even enough for a meal. I can give you a big tip, Kuya. Just take it easy, I said. I was starting to get scared. My heart was thumping against my ribs. I don't want your tip, he yelled. He looked at me through the mirror. His eyes were bloodshot. Not just tired, but like he'd been crying for hours or he was on something. I don't want your pity money. It won't fix anything. Nothing fixes this. He suddenly veered off the main road onto a side path. I knew this area. This led towards the cliffs near the old quarry. There's nothing out there but rocks and a big drop into the trees and the river. Where are you going? Suarez is the other way, I shouted. I reached for the door handle. Click. He hit the central locking. We're going somewhere better, he whispered. He wasn't yelling anymore. He sounded calm now, which was worse. I don't want to be alone anymore. It's too quiet when I'm alone. I need someone to go with me. You're a good kid. You've got a family. You understand what it's like to want to be with them, right? Stop the car, man. Stop the damn car. I started banging on the window. The car was bouncing over the potholes now. We were going way too fast for a dirt road. I looked out the front. I could see the edge of the road coming up. The headlights were hitting nothing but rain and empty air. He was heading straight for the edge of the cliff. He took his hands off the steering wheel and put them over his face. He started sobbing. I'm so tired. I'm just so tired. I didn't think. I just reacted. I leaned over the front seat and grabbed the steering wheel. I tried to pull it to the right, back toward the trees. No, he screamed. He grabbed my arm and bit me. Hard. I felt his teeth go into my skin through my jacket. I screamed and punched him in the side of the head with my free hand. He let go, dazed for a second. I grabbed the gear shift and slammed it. I don't know what gear I hit, but the transmission made a horrible grinding sound and the car jerked. He lunged at me, trying to push me back into the seat. The car was sliding sideways now. We were skidding on the mud. We have to go. We have to go together, he was yelling. He looked completely insane. His hair was messy, his mouth was open, and he was clawing at my face. The car hit a big rock and tilted. For a second, I thought we were going over. I felt that weightless feeling in my stomach. But the car slammed back down on its wheels. We had stopped. The front left tire was hanging over the edge of the embankment. He was slumped over the wheel, crying again. He looked broken. I didn't wait. I pulled the lock pin on the back door manually. It was stuck. I pulled it with both hands until my fingernail bled, but it finally popped up. I kicked the door open and scrambled out into the mud. I fell hard, sliding down a bit of the slope, but I grabbed a root and pulled myself up. I didn't look back. I just ran. I ran through the bushes, ignoring the thorns scratching my face. I could hear him behind me, screaming my name, or maybe just screaming at the sky. Come back, please! Don't leave me here! I didn't stop until I hit the main road. I didn't care about the rain anymore. I ran all the way to a gasoline station about 2 kilometers away. I was covered in mud, bleeding from my arm where he bit me, and shaking so hard I couldn't speak. The guy at the station called the police. They found the taxi a few hours later. It was still there, perched on the edge, but the driver was gone. They found his shoes near the edge of the cliff, but they never found him in the river. I'm going to be honest, I still get a bit of a chest tremor when I see a red and white Proton Saga. It was 2024. I just landed at KLIA 2 after a brutal 14-hour flight. I was exhausted, the kind of tired where your brain feels like it's floating in lukewarm soup. Usually, I'm smart. I use Grab. But my phone was dead, totally bricked, and I couldn't find a charging station that worked with my adapter. I figured, whatever, I'll just take a regular taxi. How bad can it be? That was my first mistake. The pickup, I walked out to the arrivals curb. This guy, late 40s, thin, wearing a faded polo shirt that smelled like old cigarette smoke, approached me. He wasn't the official queue. He just kind of appeared. Taxi? Where you go? Bukit Bintang? I nodded. Yeah, how much? He waved his hand dismissively. Meter. Good price. Come. I should have known. If they don't give you a number up front, or if they're hovering outside the line, walk away. But I was dying for a shower and a bed. I threw my suitcase in his trunk, which was held shut with a bungee cord, and hopped in the back. As soon as we pulled away from the bright lights of the airport, the vibe changed. We were on the highway for maybe 20 minutes. The guy was chatting at first, asking where I was from, but his eyes kept darting to the rearview mirror. Not looking at traffic, but looking at me, specifically looking at my watch and my shoes. Then he took an exit. It wasn't the main flow toward the city. It looked like an industrial area. Lots of dark warehouses and half-finished construction projects. Hey, I said, leaning forward. Why are we exiting? The signs for KL are that way. Shortcut, he grunted. Traffic very bad on Mex Highway. I know way. He didn't look back this time. He just sped up. The meter on the dashboard was flickering. I looked at it and my heart dropped. It was already reading 450 ringgit. For context, that ride should have been maybe 80 or 100. Wait, stop, I said, my voice getting that sharp edge you get when you realize you're being screwed. The meter is wrong. For that's impossible. He didn't slow down. He actually locked the doors. I heard the thunk of the central locking. Price is the price, he said. His voice wasn't friendly anymore. It was flat, cold. You pay for my time. You pay for petrol. You foreigner, you have money. You pay 800 ringgit now, or we go somewhere you don't like. 800? Are you insane? That's nearly $200. Pull over. I'm getting out. He slammed on the brakes, but we weren't at a station or a hotel. We were on a side road, pitch black, lined with tall palm trees and those deep monsoon drains. There wasn't a single soul around. He turned around in his seat. He had a metal tire iron tucked right between the center console and his seat. He didn't pull it out yet, but he rested his hand on it. Listen to me, he whispered. I have your bags in my trunk. I have your passport in your bag. You pay me 1,000 ringgit now, cash, or I leave you in this ditch. Maybe I break your leg first so you don't follow me. Nobody saw you get in my car. No grab record. No nothing. I felt the blood drain out of my face. He was right. I was a ghost in his car. I started reaching for my wallet, my hands shaking so hard I could barely unzip my pocket. I only had about 300 in cash. I was terrified. Just as he was reaching back to grab my shirt, a pair of headlights rounded the corner. It was an old, beat-up motorbike. A local guy, maybe in his 20s, wearing a delivery jacket, slowed down. He probably saw the taxi stopped in a weird spot with the lights off. The driver panicked for a second. He tried to turn the key, but the engine sputtered. Protons are notorious for that. I didn't think. I started banging on the window. The kid on the bike stopped. He kicked his kickstand down and walked over. He looked tough. Tan skin, tattoos on his arms, a very don't mess with me look. He knocked on the driver's window. The driver rolled it down just a crack, trying to act normal. Everything okay, boss? Just car trouble. The kid looked at me, saw my face, then looked at the driver's hand on the tire iron. He didn't yell. He just said something in very fast, very angry Malay. I caught the word PDRM, the police. The kid reached into his pocket, pulled out a phone, and started taking photos of the taxi's license plate and the driver's face. The driver lost it. He cursed, shoved the car into gear, and actually drove off while the back door was still half open. I'd managed to unlock it when he got distracted. I tumbled out onto the gravel. My suitcase? He threw it out of the moving car about 50 meters down the road before screaming away into the dark. The local guy walked over and helped me up. He didn't ask for money. He didn't even want to thank you. He just picked up my bag, handed me a bottle of water from his bike, and stayed with me until he could flag down a real taxi, one he called himself from a reputable company. Be careful, brother, he said in broken English. Some people, they forget God. They only see money. I made it to my hotel. I didn't report it. I was too scared and I didn't have the plate number. The kid had it, but he left. I just sat in the shower for an hour, shaking. I learned 2 things that day. 1, never get in a car without a record. 2, for every person trying to ruin your life, there's usually a guy on a motorbike willing to stop and help a stranger for nothing in return.